Today we're going to be listening to the album Witness by the Danish metal band Vola.
Blood has been spilled. I'm saying goodbye for now.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome for the very first time. So if you've never seen any of my videos before, know that what's basically going to happen is I'm going to hit play at the beginning of the album on my CD player and I'm going to listen all the way through for the very first time. I have never heard this album before. What I'm going to be doing is giving you my thoughts and basically talking about what I'm hearing as I'm listening to it for the very first time. So I have a few things to mention though before we get to that. And the first thing is that I will not be including any audio from the actual album in this video. So, if you want to listen along with me, I will include a link in the description of this video to listen along with me on Spotify. If you have your own copy of the album, feel free to listen along that way. If you don't want to listen along with me and you just want to sort of hear my thoughts during a certain song, or at the very end of all of these videos, I always do my sort of overall thoughts and kind of give a little bit of a review of the album. So, on the timeline of this video, you will notice that in the description of the video, I have also included timestamps for the different sections throughout, including each track. So if you have a favorite track on this album and you'd like to hear my thoughts on that, you can just skip through, find that, or go through the, like I said, to the timestamps in the description, click on that and go to any different part of the video. Another thing that I want to mention is that this is the first time I have recorded a video like this in this location. If you've seen any thumbnails on my channel or anything like that, or watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I've done like the last 6 or 7 of these videos in my basement, and I usually have a bookshelf behind me, bookshelves, and I put different things on there, little Easter eggs and things. I have been wanting to do a album reaction video in my room here, which is where I'm at currently, because this is where I have most of my CDs. I have these 2 shelves behind me. I have a shelf that's this size on that side of the room, a shelf that's that size on that side of the room. I also have a shelf like this downstairs. I have many albums on CD, and you know, I've always felt like I wanted to record a video in here, but this is the first time I've ever tried it, and I set everything up, and it is just awful. I am uncomfortable. I'm just using natural lighting coming in from my window. It's a very cloudy day outside, even though it's like 95 degrees in Nebraska where I live. Could start storming at any moment. None of this I know has anything to do with any of with Vola or anything like that, but just know I'm sweating in here because it is so ridiculously hot, because I can't have a fan on because I'm using different equipment, different microphone, which is where I'm getting to actual pertinent information here. I'm using a different microphone than I normally do, and when I normally record these videos, I have my Groove Tube microphone that I use. I have it hooked up to my laptop through my Pro Tools and all this stuff, so I record it as nice as I can, as clean as I can. And while I'm listening, I have my headphones on, and I try to be close to the microphone so you can get a little bit of bleed, so you have a little bit of reference for what I'm listening to at the time, if you choose not to listen along with me, which I know can be kind of cumbersome. So this is the first time I've tried this setup. It's probably the last time I will do this. As I said, it's very annoying to be in here. You do not know how small this room is. My camera is far away from me across. It's just ridiculous. I know none of that matters. Anyway. So, I'm super excited about this. Vola is a band, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Vola. I don't know how else it could be pronounced. I know there's just different ways to pronounce different things, obviously from different cultures and different languages around the world, and Vola. I'm just going to keep saying it that way because I've never heard anyone actually say this. I guess I should have watched a video and tried to listen to an interview or something beforehand, but Vola is from Denmark, and the only thing I really know about them is that they are listed on their Wikipedia page. I skimmed through that. They're listed as a progressive metal band, which is interesting. The way I found them was through a Facebook ad for just their new album, Witness, this album. And I have talked before in previous videos, so I won't talk about it very long here, but I basically have my Facebook curated to show me mostly only ads for new music that comes out. And I have discovered, over the last 3 years, I have discovered some really cool new music that I wouldn't have known about had I not discovered it through Facebook. So that's how I discovered this album, and I added it to my Spotify playlist and sort of started kind of going through. I listened to the first song and I thought, this album sounds awesome. I need to give this proper time. So later in the day, when I sat down with my headphones on and I was planning to listen to a few tracks and see what it sounded like, I got through the first 2 and I was blown away. I was so excited by what I was hearing. I thought, that's it. I have to purchase this album and I want to do a reaction to it because I was so impressed by what I was hearing. So here we are. So I took a few notes just off of the wiki page and then also reading the liner notes of the album here. The different members of the band, we have Asger Migrind or Migrind. I apologize. Again, I do not know how these names are pronounced, so I apologize. But Asger Migrind, I think maybe, he is the lead singer and also plays guitars. Then we have Martin Werner, who plays keys, and Werner could be Werner. I'm sorry, I don't know how all these different things are supposed to be pronounced. Then we have Nikolai Mogensen on bass and Adam Janzi, I believe Janzi with the J, Janzi it's spelled, but Janzi, I believe, on drums. And I did look on their wiki page. It does seem like they have had a lot of different lineup changes over the years, and that can be a good sign or a bad sign. Usually that's a pretty bad sign for a band, but I don't know. And since this is my only introduction to the band, I don't know anything about their 2 previous albums whatsoever. None of that stuff really matters to me. All that matters to me is how great this album sounds. And speaking of sounding great, one of the things that I was really excited when I got the CD and I opened it just here about half hour before I'm recording this, I was looking through the liner notes and I saw here at the bottom, it says, produced by Asger Migrind, drums engineered by Jacob Herman at Top Floor Studios, and then this is the thing that got me really excited, mixed and mastered by Jacob Hansen at Hansen Studios. Jacob Hansen is a music producer and mixing audio engineer that I have read his name on countless albums that I have that I absolutely love, including my top 2 favorite metal bands, flip-flop in terms of who they are, but basically it's between Mook and an amazing Danish metal band called Raunchy, whose entire discography I have right up here. And I know that Raunchy does a lot of work with Jacob Hansen, and I have loved the way those albums have sounded. And so I was looking up just some of the different projects that Jacob Hansen has worked on over the last 2 decades, basically. And I found out that he has been doing work with Epica, another band that I love, have most of their discography behind me here. Diabolus and Musica, which is an amazing Spanish symphonic metal band, kind of like Epica, also a symphonic metal band. And he's also done some work for Delane, which is another symphonic metal band. He's also done work for Evergrey, Volbeat, another Danish band that I love a lot. Most of their discography is right here behind me. And I found that he has his own band called Pyromaze or Pyramaze. And so now I'm excited to look into that. But just wanted to shout out Jacob Hansen because he has produced a lot of albums that I love the way they sound. He and Tu Madsen, I just love the way that they produce things, and they have worked on many, many projects that I absolutely love the sound of. Another thing I want to mention real quick, I just said Raunchy, possibly my favorite metal band of all time. Like I said, it flip-flops between that and the Japanese metal band Mook. Raunchy, love it. But one of my other favorite bands of all time is also a Danish band, a Dutch band. Or sorry, not Dutch. Dutch is the Netherlands. I'm very sorry for saying that. Another Danish band from Denmark is the band Nephew, whom I have 4 of their albums here. Nephew, an incredible band with amazing production, great singer, great songwriting. Most of the lyrics are in Danish, and I just absolutely love it. So shout out to all the amazing bands from Denmark. I believe there's another band, metal band that I have a few albums of theirs on here called Ill Disposed, which is a sort of an older band. But one of the cool things that I love about Raunchy and Ill Disposed specifically, which is why I bring them up, is that their guitar tone just has this specific sound to it. They have very similar guitar tones on some of their albums. Ill Disposed has many, many albums. And Raunchy's guitars, for the most part, sound very similar across their whole discography. And I love the way that the guitars sound and the drums and everything sounds mixed together. And like I said already, a lot of it has to do with the mixing. A lot of it has to do with the different sort of production elements that go into the recording. But I think some of it might just come from the area that they come from, the country they come from. I don't know if it's a specific technique of playing or the amps that they're using or what, but there's just this cool sound. And when I heard the 2 songs off of this Vola album, I was reminded of that, and that was one of the things that got me really excited. Comparing this band with just the bare minimum that I have heard of them so far, it reminded me of a lot of some of my favorite metal bands that I truly, truly love. So that's one of the reasons I am super excited for this. I also did notice that one of the tracks features the US rapper Shaman, and so that's very intriguing to me. I love when genres of music can come together to create something truly unique and weird. And so I do not know what that's going to sound like at all. There are very few instances of European metal bands having rappers sing over them. Within Temptation did it with Exhibit on one of their albums on Hydra, which is not my favorite collaboration they ever did, but it was still interesting to hear. And you just don't hear a lot of like hip hop rap collaborations with European metal bands. I would say that's much more common with American metal bands, especially the sort of like electronic metalcore stuff that's been happening over the last 5 to 6 years. There's a lot of hip hop feeling things, and a lot of some of the singers on some of these metal bands will just do rap verses. So I'm really interested to see how that works. I'm hoping that it's a cool special song. I did notice that there were only 9 songs on this album, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I read that this band was progressive, and that was not necessarily like a prog progressive metal band. That was not necessarily the vibe that I got from what I was hearing. So anyone who's watched my channel before knows that I really, really, really care about the structuring of songs. So that's something I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to. But I am not really a big prog metal fan. And so we'll see how that impacts my liking of this album. I did very recently get into an amazing band called Frost, electronic progressive rock band Frost, and that has sort of helped open my eyes a little bit to the different sort of ways that prog music can bring uniqueness to different genres of music that they're sort of mixing in. So I'm really, really excited for this. I've talked already way longer than I was planning, so let's just get right into it. I got my CD here, my CD player, got my headphones. Little crack in the case. Well, that's all right. I will also just say shout out to the cover of this album is really cool. I'll put a picture of it here somewhere. At first glance, I thought it looked kind of like a flower, and then I thought it kind of looked like a sun, but I really enjoyed the artwork. It seems like it was done with some sort of a pen or pencil. I really enjoy it. It's very simple, but I really like it a lot, so shout out to that. Okay. As I've said already now multiple times, this is a new setup for me. I do not know how good this is going to work with the microphone bleeding into it and all that stuff. Who knows what's going to happen? This is an adventure we are all on together. All right. The album's in. I am hitting play right now. And this first song is starting right now. All right, we're starting out with some guitar that's EQ sweeped in. So this is Straight Lines. This is the song that I have heard already, but it's already been several months since I first heard this. This album came out in May of 2021. So this is where I think, now that I know their progressive metal band is sort of their defying genre that they list themselves, I'm hearing a lot of Devin Townsend in this. I'm hearing a lot of what I would consider to be prog in terms of the vocal styling. The music is very djenty, which I really like. The guitars don't have a ton of high frequencies in them. They're mostly mids and lows, but that makes sense because there's a lot of electronic elements and things. And I was reading online on their wiki page about how they use different electronic elements, and they've been getting a little bit more electronic and progressive electronically throughout their career. So that makes sense to me. When you're mixing metal like this, it's a problem that all mixing engineers, mastering engineers, everyone has when you're mixing all different elements with metal. If you want to have the guitars be big and crunchy, you're sacrificing the high frequencies and the fidelity of a lot of the extra elements coming in. So right now I'm noticing the way it's mixed, it's giving room in the higher frequencies for the electronics and different synth pads and things to exist up there. Oh, yes. All that synth. Da-da-da-da. Ah, yeah, there we go. Kind of a cool little polyrhythm thing going on over the top of the drums. Very neat. The guitars are just doing straight notes, but because of what the drums are doing, it has sort of an unsettling off-time feeling. Oh, now we have like a vocoder sort of thing happening. I think it was the first time I was listening to this song. When I got to this point, I was like, okay, I am listening to something special. I am listening to something that I need to do a reaction to. That vocoder, we're getting into a Cybreed territory here. This is giving me Cybreed vibes, which is very, in my opinion, that's high praise. Okay, now we're going to the second chorus. So far, the song has been structured fairly normally. I've mentioned before a little bit, and I've mentioned in many of my videos before this, structuring is so important to me. I really, really like knowing, sort of looking down the road of the song, the metaphorical road that the song is traveling down, and kind of imagining where we're going to end up. I don't mind if the road has some twists and turns in it, and there's some cool elements, like right now I'm hearing some sort of bells off to the right a little bit, some different synth elements, still a lot of vocoder elements happening as well. I don't want the song, however, to take a sharp left turn and go off in a direction down a completely different road. That's not my style. I really want the song to sort of end on the chorus again. There can be cool detours, like I said, but I want it to end where it feels like we're heading. Are we getting a synth solo? Oh, I love it. The synth that's being played there on a keyboard, either that has a bend, or you could program it so that the notes bend into one another and flow. Very cool. For anybody that's wondering, this is simply just Blue Typhoon. I think it's called Blueberry something. Kool-Aid. Just blue Kool-Aid. So... alrighty, we've gotten the third chorus in there after a cool little, or well, I'm not going to look in the book too much. I know that really all that's in the liner notes is the lyrics, and I don't want to get distracted by that. Alright, so that first track, 4 minutes and 20-ish seconds long, structured pretty normally, pretty A, B, A, C, B, outro. I mean, pretty much intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge, chorus, out. Love it. Oh man, this is great. I'm also getting a little bit of Fear Factory vibes here, which you know, any band that's a gent band or a rhythmic based riffs like this owes a lot of inspiration to Fear Factory. So I'm definitely hearing some of that. That bass tone, very Fear Factory as well. Love it. The snare drum right now is catching my attention. I really like that. It's a beefy sounding snare, but it's not too crisp and high. Again, the same thing applies to the snare and the kick, really, that I was talking about the drums earlier. In order to have all these extra elements floating around, synths and things, the vocoders, which do not have a lot of high frequencies in them, you have to sort of sacrifice the high frequencies in other places. But when you do it correctly, when you have a good mix like this, the mix can still feel heavy and chunky and beefy, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like shrill, and the guitars, the snare doesn't have to feel like it's competing too much with the vocals, with the synths. Let those things sort of sit on top and be the sprinkles on top of the cake, which is the established drums, guitar, bass, and vocal. Okay. All right, so this is giving me Frost vibes, which is amazing. The vocal harmony vocals are really nice. A very nice, clear sounding, close mic'd vocal, lead vocal. Very different from the vocal during the verse, which is basically a very affected vocoder sounding effect. Back to the chord, genty sort of chugging riff from the intro. Okay, now everything's gone. We're half tempo. I should say, I think one of the reasons that I don't necessarily gravitate towards prog music that much is because I am not super great at music theory, and as a musician, I am very simple. sometimes very complicated riffs, chords that just have a lot of dissonance to them and interesting notes. I love the way that sounds, but it can feel sort of intimidating to me sometimes. And when I listen to something like Frost, I was shocked to find how I was able to take it all in without feeling intimidated. Everything was very easy to digest, very digestible. And that's the feeling I'm getting from this. We're on the second chorus right now, and so far, again, it's just been intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, and I love that. So I love this sort of synth things. This is reminding me a lot of Raunchy, and I just cannot tell you how much I love that band. And anything that reminds me of it, even remotely, gets me really excited. All right, so we're half tempo again here. Big drums. The kick is really nice as well, very well rounded, but there's also high frequencies in there. It doesn't sound like some sort of a monster low kick, but there's enough of it to differentiate itself from the snare, which sometimes can be a problem with metal. I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that I'm fairly certain the drums were replaced, if not using the additional sound, the original sounds that they'd recorded for the kick and the snare, and probably the toms might not be replaced, but I'm sure the kick and the snare have either replacements or overdubs as well with them. Very common with this. But when you have a metal band like this that uses all sorts of keyboards, has almost a bit of like a sci-fi futuristic feel to it, that doesn't feel like cheating. Not that I would ever consider that cheating, but I know a lot of metal purists out there enjoy their metal to be raw and real the way it is. Oh, that build is awesome. I love the slow plodding feel here. The kick basically going with the riff. The bass is really nice and thick. I think I'm probably hearing the bass was probably recorded dry, maybe direct in or using some sort of a DI box. And then they took and added some distortion to it and widened that track to make it feel enormous. This is great. Ooh, a little bend there. Ooh, that synth note in there. I think it was a synth. It could have been the guitars. Oh, that could just be guitar, though I think I hear a cool synth in there as well, just playing the same thing. Ooh, piano. Oh. Oh my goodness. Intimate, close mic'd vocals. Oh, that tone in the background. Oh, love it. So there they did not go back to the third chorus. That song was 5.5 minutes long. That was track 2, I should mention, Head Mounted Sideways. This is track 3 right now. 24 light years. I'm hearing some sort of sounds sort of floating left and right. Very nice stereo image happening right now. Some synth pads in the back, very reverbed. Okay, now we got drums going pretty intensely, but no... I don't think there's any guitars. The bass guitar could just be playing long, drawn-out notes. I was trying to debate if that that you're hearing is guitars, but I think that's a bass line, or a synth line. Which might mean that later on in the song, we'll have the guitars coming in and palm mute that. Hopefully this microphone is doing a good job picking stuff up. I normally use what I consider to be a much higher quality microphone. I'm a little worried about that, but we're just trying this out. Oh, I love it. All the layers of vocals, whether they be vocoders or harmony vocals or what, it's amazing. And the drums are very nice. They feel almost sporadic, and there's lots of cymbals happening on the left and the right, so it's giving this sort of almost washy feel. Okay. I thought the song was going to jump up and get really big there, but it didn't. The drums are continuing the very interesting and intricate beat that was going on, and we're just having a little guitar solo. Lots of reverb on the guitar solo. Pretty far back in the mix, but clearly the thing to focus on. And it's really nice because it's long and drawn out notes with the sporadicness of the drums gave that a really interesting feel. Okay, so now we have bass going fast. And it's not palm muted or anything, not that you really palm mute a bass, but interesting feel. And the hi-hat is switched as being much more straight. Ooh, chuggy palm muted, love it. Oh, I love it. Chugga 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 chugga. Oh, big harmony vocals here. Love it. Oh my goodness, this is awesome. I will say so far, no screaming whatsoever. I do think I heard in that first track some screaming overdubs very much in the background. Oh yeah, there we go. Yes, this song definitely feels like it is in a higher key than the two previous songs. Less chuggy. Now, they could go down. Maybe this is just the chorus. They might even be playing in an octave higher than the initial key of the song, but very interesting. Love it. And I love the constant movement of sort of synth lines and things that are happening almost consistently over the top of all these bigger, heavier parts. If you took those parts away, the songs would feel so empty. Those are the kind of things that you don't necessarily listen to and focus on while you're listening unless you're hearing it for the 10th time. But knowing that those things are in there, if you took those things out, these songs would feel barren. Oh. That is so amazing. Such an amazing transition here. This is exactly what happened at the end of the previous track. Having everything be so big and the vocals and everything feel perfect in the mix, but then having everything go away and the vocals get dry and they're right there. Oh, it's amazing. It is a very, very, very good feeling mix. Yes. Yes. Oh, this is great. Oh, yeah. I'm thinking this is in my top 12 albums of the year for sure. Unless this album goes off the rails. Oh, I could have had that song be a little bit longer. Okay, so 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Oh, we are on track 4 now. Oh, boy. This is the one featuring Shaman or Shaman. Oh, boy. Oh. What is this going to do? So, this is giving me vibes of like Korn and Fear Factory, like I said already. A lot of those bands in the early 2000s, late 90s, they were not afraid to collaborate with hip-hop artists. Oh, yes! This is These Black Claws. Oh, where is this gonna go? I love this. Let this song be 10 minutes long. Who cares? Oh, yes. Oh, that ding ding bing dong do 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 do. Oh, I love it. That was like a slightly detuned piano sounding patch, but that guitar is so Korn, and the beat is Korn too. And I do not say Korn with disdain like I know a lot of people would. Korn has many amazing songs. They're not my favorite band in the world, but I respect the hell out of them, and I do love some of their albums a lot. Path of Totality really underappreciated for what it did fusing dubstep and electronic music. Oh, yes. I am a huge sucker for using bells and xylophone and glockenspiel sounds like that. Very, very fast, transient, short attack, or fast attack, sequency sounding notes. Birthday Massacre, one of my all-time favorite bands as well. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm guessing this is Shaman or Shaman. What a deep voice. What an amazing mix. Love it. Oh my goodness. I did look Shaman up just a little bit before I recorded this, and I just heard a few samples, and I'm really excited to look into his material as well, his albums. Love it. Oh man. Yes. Oh, this is reminding me of something. His voice. I don't know what it's reminding me of. Oh man, the recording quality of what I'm hearing. There's lows, but there's not a ton of mids, but there's just enough highs. Like, this is EQ'd to perfection if it was EQ'd after the fact. It could be special microphone they were using or something, but one thing, this song is amazing, and I really want it to go back to the chorus one more time before it's done. I hope it does that. Oh, man. You know what? I think what it might be reminding me of, the singing during the choruses here, might be reminding me of the two new singers for Scar Symmetry after Christian Alveston left. That might be what I'm thinking of. They are a band that has leaned more into the progressive sort of elements. And I believe they're working on a new album to be released either this year or next year, Holographic Principle Volume 2 or something. Not Holographic Principle, that's an Epica album. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. This is great. I love all the droning notes in the background this whole time. It makes everything feel dissonant and almost uncomfortable at times. It also gives it sort of like a sci-fi vibe. Yes, chorus. Do it. Yes. Oh, goodness gracious. I love the bell part in the background. Oh my goodness, I love this so much. Wow. I love everything about everything that I have been hearing so much. Oh my goodness. So that was track 4, track 5 right now. This is Freak. Acoustic guitar and piano. You guys, I am so freaking pumped. Where is the second half of this album going? That song was so amazing. I love music so much. His voice is very, very, very interesting and cool. It's almost a little bit too smooth, but it's not. They're making up for that with the different layers of vocals. And I don't even think that it's necessarily a negative to have a smooth voice. It's just sometimes that can be a little rough to fit over such extreme heavy music. I've always thought that the vocals have to match the intensity of the music, whether you're talking emotional intensity or intense. that's why I think soaring female vocals work so well over a lot of metal, like symphonic metal bands and things. I think that's why it works so well. But I'm not, whatever, not getting that. This is beautiful. This could be a Frost song. That's amazing. Maybe I do like prog music, progressive music. I guess my preconceived notion of it was that it would be much more technical and not necessarily... Well, I need to educate myself more. I love the tremolo on the guitar here. Love it. Dude, the vocals are just, they are standing out to me so much. Everything else sounds great, but the vocals are just really getting me. All the overdubs, the layering of the vocals. I have preached to the choir many times about how background vocals and gang vocals and shout vocals are one of the most underappreciated elements in all of music. You can absolutely make or break an album with how good the overdubs and background vocals and shout vocals are handled, and this is being done to perfection. If you muted everything except the vocals and all the overdubs, it would still sound like a full sonic palette. It would still sound intricate, and it would still sound interesting to listen to, but they're not covering any of that with the music that's trying to compete with it. This is amazing. And hearing that the title of the song is Freak, I was expecting this song to like go hard, but it's not, and I love that. Knowing there's only 9 songs on here, I'm hoping we get like a 10-minute song. I don't know if this is that kind of a band, if they do that kind of a thing, but I would love it. And I should mention, I guess, as well, if you've been watching this whole video or you just skip to this song, I am not all about the lyrics. That's not my thing. I've mentioned it in many videos before. I am much more here to listen to the production, the recording techniques that were used, things like that, the overall composition. I'm not really a lyric guy. I don't really try to connect to music on that level. I feel the music in a way that doesn't necessarily... I don't have to relate to something. Great solo going on here, by the way, but I apologize if you want me to break down these lyrics. They are in the booklet, but that's just not my thing. What a great guitar tone for the solo here. Dude, these moments where the effects of the vocals go away and it's just this one intimate vocal, very dry. I love it. Dude, the microphone that they used, the EQing, whatever, it's amazing. Okay, that was track 5. Track 6 right now. This is Napalm. Kind of happy sounding. Interesting. So that was a slow, like not a slow, but that was more of a ballady song. So I'm expecting this one to be bigger and heavier, but so far it's sounding really nice and cheerful almost. Oh, yeah. Oh, that riff. This is giving me Natural Born Chaos Soilwork vibes now. That album is so special because of the keyboard work. There's a lot of like happy sounding things happening over the metal music, but it doesn't feel less heavy. It just gives a complexity. It lends a complexity to what's happening. Oh, man. Even at this point right now on track 6, I am debating if I have heard a better album yet this year. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm getting some Soilwork vibes from this. Especially, like I said, Natural Born Chaos album Soilwork, era Soilwork. And the vocals, I think that's what it is. It is reminding me of the two new singers, the clean singer that they got to replace Christian Alveston in Scar Symmetry. And maybe it's just the way that the vocals are overdubbed and the things like the different harmonies he's using that are reminding me of that, but his voice does remind me of that. Oh, that tambourine, yes. Yes, tambourine, really cool. And it's right in the middle, too. But that's letting the guitars and the synths and stuff exist on the outside. Piano. Dude, the keyboard player for this band, Martin Werner, or Werner. Chef's kiss. I would say that they've stolen the album, but honestly, the guitar riffs, super cool and creative and heavy. I love them. The vocals, though, blowing my mind. The song arrangements in themselves in general. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that synth being played along with the guitar riff. Love it. It's like a buzzy, rattly synth. I love it. Yes. And I know Raunchy is working on a new album right now as well. It just makes me excited for that. But this is different. This is really good. Halftime chorus here. Multiple, like, they're doing some cool vocal rhythmic stuff here, having multiple parts over the top of each other. I think I see here like 3 or 4 vocal parts right now. No, don't fade out. Okay. Anybody that knows me knows that my biggest pet peeve in music is fading a song out. But doing it like this is... yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I would have liked for it to have ended, actually, but having it fade, the music fade out and then the vocals stay there, it allowed us to sort of focus on those different vocal melodies like I was talking about. Okay, that was track 6. Track 7. All right. Starting off heavy. This is Future Bird. Oh, the bass. Yeah, I'm definitely hearing 2 bass tones, at least. One that's just like direct in bass sounding, not a lot of highs. But then there is a much more clanky sounding, some distortion maybe. Probably could be from an amp, or I assume they reamped the clean tone. Love it though. It's almost a harsh sound, but it's over the top of all these sort of more floaty sounding things. The guitar doing that high part, huge. The drummer is very groovy. Again, we have tambourine going here. I love it when a heavy band uses auxiliary percussion instruments. It just adds an element that I don't think a lot of them do. Not a lot of nowadays. A lot of bands are, well, for the last 20 years, really, a lot of heavy bands aren't afraid to add like extra hi-hat rhythms and things like that, or drum loops like this, things like that. But to have like tambourines, shakers, things like that, really cool. Love it. This is awesome. In Flames does parts like this in their music where it's cool little drum loop, low tempo. Not necessarily low tempo. Low, bringing the intensity down. Everything is very background, very muted. Vocals right in the middle. That guitar tone's cool. Very reverby. And there's just some big chords in the background, but they're low passed out. Yes. I am shocked. No screaming vocals at all. And maybe that's one of the elements of them that lends them to being more progressive sounding. I wouldn't mind some heavier, screamy moments for sure, because I definitely think the music lends itself to being heavy. So. Oh, man. That drum pattern is just cool. The cymbals are pretty gone here. I can really almost barely hear them. It's a little off-putting, but those guitars and that synth line in there with the playing with the guitar is very prominent and feels very big, very thick. Love it. No, don't fade out. Don't do it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it when a band does that. It is just lazy songwriting to me. No, it doesn't feel like your song is flying off into existence, continuing forever. It's just stupid and lazy, and I hate it. I hate every instance of it ever. It's awful. Low point of the album right here with the fade out. It's absolutely awful. Track 8. Stone Leader Falling Down. Like this riff so far. Very Fear Factory vibes. Yeah! Love it. Love it. Love the riff. It's complex enough for my brain to kind of be like, huh? But I can still move to it. Huh. Again, tambourine. Same sounding tambourine. Okay. I will say, I have not been noticing the tom drums very much throughout the album. They have been sticking more to hi-hats, cymbals, snare, kick, obviously, and using the toms more as like transition pieces rather than being used as a part. That's interesting. Love it. I personally like that. I like sticking to the hi-hat as much as possible, though that can sometimes make something feel more groovy and less heavy, and it depends what you're going for. Okay. Oh. Oh, boy. Probably the heaviest moment on the album here for sure. That I remember anyway. Like it. I like this song. This is reminding me of Fear Factory a little bit, like I said. Yeah. Okay, that sounds like some screaming background vocals. Love it. Yes. Oh, that's cool. This is the penultimate song. So, what are we going to get for the last track? So that was track 8, Stone Leader Falling Down. And the last track, track 9 here, Inside Your Fur. Nope, starting right now. Inside Your Fur. Tambourine, there you go, baby. Now I'm wondering how much I didn't notice it the first half of the album. Dare I see how long this song is? Oh, 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay. I will say, or I'll save that thought for the end. Great bass. The bass is the driving part of what we're hearing here. The sort of offbeat guitar riff is cool too. But that bass sounds great. Gosh, his voice is so cool. He has a bit of an accent, and I really love that. There's some Birthday Massacre synths in there, baby. Do it. If you're watching this video and you're unfamiliar with the Birthday Massacre, just go look them up. The Birthday Massacre. Ooh, big chorus. Love the synths there. Oh, those vocal fluctuations there, very cool. Ooh, I love it. Okay, back to the main riff. Bass is doing something a little different, though. Not as in your face. But the guitar riff is the same, though. It's not just on the right now, it's left side guitar as well. It feels a lot more floaty as opposed to driving, which is how the first verse felt. Definitely feels like the bass line is more groovy and going along with the drum beat, rather than being its own sort of driving force like it was in the first verse. Man, the drums feel great too this whole time. And that Birthday Massacre synth is there in the back again. Hearing some piano stuff as well. Oh boy, there you go. Yeah, that's giving me Vices, Virtues, Visions feelings from Raunchy. Their most recent album from 2016, I think. 2014? 2014. Man, it has been too long since we had a Raunchy album. Love it. Now we got some shakers and tambourines all over the place. And it's giving the rest of the song feels floaty. You know, everything is connecting together in one long mass of sound. Nothing is really breaking up. So having those sharper, more percussive elements to it really helps the song feel like it's moving forward rather than just sort of existing in a puddle of itself. It's a very weird way to say that, but this is all very droney, everything that's happening. So having the sharp little moments happening really helps. All right, so they're not going to go to the chorus a third time, but that's okay. Just let it build, and then we get some drumming acoustic guitar in there, I think, as well. Big drum fills. Okay, so we got some frequency sweeps happening here. Interesting effects. Ooh, that's very weird. Very off-putting almost. Gosh, that cavernous reverb just extending deep into the cavern. Oh boy. Not a secret track, is there? Nope. 5 minutes exactly. Oh boy. Whew! I'm sweating in a good way, in the best way possible. Holy cow. Okay, that was Witness by Vola. I'm super excited to check out these guys' other two albums. I did read that their first album was considered much heavier than their second one. The second one leaned more towards the electronic elements and stuff. And so I'm going to assume that this album kind of followed in that album's footsteps and just kind of, you know, we'll see. I don't know if there would have been any screaming vocals on any of their two previous albums. I heard only 2 songs on this album. I heard heavy vocals, and they were both used in both instances as background vocals. This album was awesome from front to back. Not a weak track at all. The middle track on the album, Freak, the one that was, it came after the sort of more hip hop influenced song featuring Shaman. Freak, and having the ballad in the middle of the album, really, really cool choice. I like it when albums do that. A lot of albums choose to end with the ballad, leaving the album on sort of a more somber note. And this album did that as well, with the sort of big cacophony sound that we were having at the end there, and then having the filter sweeps and everything, give it a cool sort of like technical sci-fi feeling thing almost. There were so many bands that I referenced when I was listening to that. I talked about Soilwork, Fear Factory, Scar Symmetry, Sonic Syndicate, I guess, a little bit of that. But then there were also just different things. Raunchy, it made me think of the Birthday Massacre. There were amazing Birthday Massacre synths, which is one of my favorite aspects to all of music. I love the way the Birthday Massacre uses synths, so there were elements of that. There were all sorts of really cool things that I loved in that. The vocals, to me, are like the standout. The vocal harmonies and the vocal layering, the overdubbing, the vocal harmony overdubbing was amazing. All the effects, the post-processing on this album was done so well. And what I mean by that is you can go in and record vocals, but for the most part, I'm assuming all of the overdubs and even the lead vocals were recorded raw and dry. And then after the fact, you sit down, you edit the song, you're mixing, you're doing your different things, adding your EQ and all this to all the drums and the guitars. As I said, the guitars didn't have a ton of high frequencies in them, and that was so that they could allow the high frequencies in the mix were being taken up by the vocals and some of the cymbals and also the electronic elements, the different things that were sort of flying around. If you have too much high frequencies in the guitars, you can drown those things out, and shrill guitars are not good when you have a lot of electronic elements and singing clean vocals. But anyway, you record all the vocals dry, and then after the fact, you try to piece everything together. You try to make a single image out of all these different disparate elements that all have sort of different sounds to them, different tonal qualities to them. And this was put together so perfectly. I said at the beginning, I did not know that Vola was considered... My cell phone's ringing. I did not know that Vola was considered to be a progressive metal band, and now I hear it. Just the fact that the riffs were complicated. There were a lot of... I didn't necessarily hear a lot of moments that were... time signatures were kind of different, or changing time signatures or changing keys or anything like that too much, but the progressive elements that I did notice were all the clean vocals. I feel like that's and also a lot of the vocal harmonies and things like that. Having a lot of layered vocals seems to be a very, at least with my limited knowledge of sort of prog music sphere, that felt that way. Some of the guitar riffs and the drums, the way the guitar riffs and the drums played against each other, timing-wise, felt a little unsettling, and that's also, I believe, a very integral to different prog things. I didn't hear a ton of super technical things, and I really enjoy that. I was saying during the album that one of the reasons prog doesn't really appeal to me that much is because I am not a very good musician at all. I like to listen to simple things, and while this album wasn't very simple, there was never a moment where I thought I was listening to something that was just riff salad. It wasn't just a ton of people trying to be showy, and I know that is not what prog music is about. I know that is sort of a stereotype and a cliche and not necessarily very accurate, but man, I loved it. I loved the way the drums sounded on this album were great. The way the mix and everything was, that's what I mentioned to Hansen. Or not to Hansen, sorry. I was thinking to Madsen. Jacob Hansen. Amazing job. Amazing. It sounded like an album that he mixed and worked on, and I think that's amazing. Did a great job. The singing... the parts were amazing. I love how all the songs, even though some of them were pretty heavy the whole time and were pretty dynamically similar throughout the whole song, it still felt like you could feel where the choruses were. Whether the intensity was brought up or there were just more layers of synths, different bells, xylophone type sounding, glockenspiel type sounding things. There were different layers and elements being added in the choruses to make the choruses different from the verses or from the bridges. They did a great job in a lot of the verses bringing things out and having it be more simplified and having the vocals sit over it. And again, that helps make the choruses feel really huge and big. Song structuring, I was really happy with the whole time. There were 2 or 3 songs that I wish, instead of being 5 minutes long, they were 6.5 minutes long, and they would have gone to the chorus again a third time and then had some sort of an outro. But, that's just adding more onto it. 2 of the songs faded out. One of them in an egregiously terrible way that really is, to me, now listening to that track 7, I believe it was, or track 8, not 8, maybe? Shoot, I'm not misremembering, but there was a track that faded out, and it had cool different vocal melodies happening at the same time, different vocal rhythms, multiple vocal rhythms happening over each other. And the music all faded out, but it kept some of those vocal rhythms in there so you could kind of hear them, and then they were very affected and got more reverb and delay and things on them. That was nice, and that was okay. I think I can give that a pass, because the song itself didn't technically completely fade out. The vocals stayed there for a while and then kind of ended. But the track following it just did a straight fade out, and that's so terrible. I hate it when albums do that. I would have considered this to be maybe close to a perfect album had it not done that. And I did mention as well several times that I do think that this album could have benefited from having some harsh vocals in there. However, that's not what this band does, and I think that's cool. I like it when a metal band can be heavy and not necessarily have to have harsh vocals. I don't dislike harsh vocals, though. In fact, I really think that can make something feel very different. You can have different parts of the songs if you have a verse that's harsh vocals and the chorus is sung, but I already know a lot of bands that are like that. Almost all the bands that I mentioned earlier, like Scar Symmetry, Sonic Syndicate, Soilwork, all those bands, In Flames, Demon Hunter, all those sort of different bands, which not all those are like this, but all those bands do the sort of harsh vocal for the verse, clean vocal for the chorus formula. And so having it all clean vocals, like I already said, I think that kind of helps them lean more into the prog metal sphere. So that was really cool. I think the standout track for me, that's tough. But the one I'll probably go back to the most is the one with Shaman, These Black Claws. Man, what a cool song. And the fact that it just started out with unabashedly, like, here's a cool hip-hop beat. It felt like a throwback to late 90s Korn. It really did, or mid-90s Korn even. It really felt like that. And like I said in the video, to me, that is not a bad thing. That is really cool. I love that we're getting to a point now where... And I one of the things that I was going to say, and I forgot earlier, was I saw online that this band started in like 2006, and that was shocking to me. That's 17 years ago. That's really interesting because their first album didn't come out until 2015, I think, 2013, 2015, then 2019, and now in 2021. So, like I said, there was all sorts of lineup changes and things like that, but I don't really know what they were doing for the first 10 years of their existence. Maybe the guys were in other bands, things like that, but it's interesting to think that they come from the mid-2000s when they formed. Now, maybe they were just out of high school at the time. I don't know enough about them. I will say, totally unrelated to anything really, but the picture of them here in the album, that is a really cool... I know you can't see it from this far away from the camera. Hello. Badass photo. Love it. I think the album overall was great, and I am not disappointed in the slightest that I purchased this in physical form. This album will be in my top 12 albums of the year at the end of the year, for sure. There's been a lot of other good albums, and I was kind of looking. Walking Papers had an album that I think up to this point has been considered my favorite. Demon Hunter had a great acoustic album come out. Disappointing Evanescence album. We've got some different things that have come out this year, but this album is going to be on my list for sure. It actually kind of reminds me a little bit of last year when I found the metal band Orbit Culture for the first time. Every now and then I come across a band that I just wasn't aware of, and it feels to me like it fits in so well with all the metal bands that I've grown up with that I truly love, and this is one of those bands. I could put this album in rotation with a raunchy Soilwork, In Flames, Demon Hunter, whatever, Nemec, any of those bands that I grew up loving in high school and beyond. I could put this album in there with the rotation and it would sound like it fit in with them, and I love that. The Cybreed, this album reminded me of Cybreed, and that's so cool. Whatever, I could go on forever. I think you understand that I really like the album. I'm excited to go back and listen to some of their earlier stuff. We'll see what that sounds like. I don't know if I'll do reactions to them or not, but we'll have to see. Regardless, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it entertaining, and I look forward to doing more in the future, but probably not from this location. Not necessarily the most comfortable. I think I'll sacrifice having my albums behind me for a more comfortable area, but Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and as I say at the end of all my videos, go out, find some new music, and the most important thing you can do is share it with other people that you think will appreciate it, and maybe share it with some people that you don't know if they will or not, but pass the new music on. It is one of the most gratifying things you can do as a music fan, and I love it. That's why I'm here to try to share new music with people that I don't know their musical tastes with. Who knows who will see this video, maybe be inspired to listen to this album, and that is my ultimate goal. So go out, listen to some new music, and share it with the people that are important to you. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you next time.